Hi, world. I want to talk about the mental aspect of processing emotions today. Today, January 9th, 2021, the sun is in Capricorn and Mercury is conjuncting Saturn in Aquarius. These are energy archetypes that could take infinite different expressions. And the way that they're affecting me in my chart has brought up certain things that are inspiring me to make this video. And I'll see those details later on in the video, but the message is that Mercury conjuncts Saturn. Mercury is the conceptual mind. It's what we're thinking about. It's like the human level of mental process. And Saturn can be very sobering. It can be serious conversations. It can be conversations about boundary setting. Saturn is very focused and concrete, and it can also be depression. I'd say the emotional tone of Saturn is kind of depressing. And when I say depression, that can mean a spectrum of things. I like to understand the emotion as like a relaxing kind of, if there's been a lot of energy expansion and going towards something. Then the depression can be like the trough, like literally the depression and the pinnacle, and then the depression. So it's sort of like there's like an energetic like yes, like just an amazing expansive feeling, and then there's a kind of contracting heaviness that slows us down and kind of might bring us more inward or into more sensitive place or more intimate place in ourselves. And so very generally, what I notice is that with the Mercury conjuncting Saturn, that can be, and since it's in Aquarius, we're going to want to analyze our like depressed thought process. We're going to want to analyze it. And what I notice is that if I'm in an emotion, a lot of thoughts will come up. If I'm in a really intense emotion, if I'm really triggered, a lot of thoughts will come up, a lot of beliefs will come up. And it's really important that I recognize when that's happening that it's an expression of the emotion. So if I'm feeling extremely insecure or rejected or hurt or depressed, it's really important that we recognize that all the thoughts and beliefs that are coming up are the mind's way of feeling what we feel in our bodies. And so this is just so key. I think that a lot of the times when people get stuck in an emotion, get stuck in a state of depression or a certain state, it's because we believe the thoughts as true. We don't realize that they're just a part of the emotion. So for example, yesterday someone set a boundary with me, and very quickly I'll just say astrologically, this Mercury conjunct Saturn is directly opposing my 0 degree Leo Venus, and so that's like a form it took for me. While the sun is conjuncting my Saturn, it's really shining light on this like, and when she set this boundary, I felt really triggered. I felt really insecure. It brought up feelings of rejection. It brought up feelings of confusion. And I noticed that my mind was kind of trying to come to a conclusion about what I did wrong, or trying to analyze how I need to change in order to be better socially or something like that. And so there was like this mental analysis that was like trying to figure out, because I'm feeling negative, a mental analysis comes up and says, what did I do wrong here? How do I need to change this? And it's like trying to come to some conclusion about how to prevent this in the future, basically. And I think that is a part of just the mental expression of an emotion. When, we've got this Mercury conjunct Saturn in Aquarius, Aquarius wants to analyze, it wants to understand, it wants to conceptualize this heaviness, in order to control it, in order to say, no, I want to live like an expansive, high vibe life. What can I change inside of myself, or in my behavior? What can I change in order to always be high vibing? So instead of just accepting the natural waves of expansion and contraction, the mind wants to understand how it can be better. And so I'm sharing this because I noticed in myself a shift in me from when I was younger, and I would have just stayed in that self-critical feeling rejected and feeling just insecure and like I need to change who I am in order to receive love. And I would have like stayed there and analyzed it, but now I have the awareness that that's just a wave, and that when my mind is thinking that way, it's just a part of the emotion. It's a part of the emotion releasing itself even. So we can even make use of this by recognizing or interpreting these emotions and the thought patterns as though they're being released. So as I was noticing these thoughts, as I was noticing the feeling of these thoughts that were saying like, if I change this about myself, if I like kind of like hold myself back more, then I can like make friends better or something. And it's like, if I change this about, but it was a self-critical thought. It was a negative thought. It wasn't like a productive necessarily, and I have that discernment now because I could tell because I was feeling heavy. If I'm feeling heavy, the thoughts that come up are going to be a part of the emotional expression. The time when insights come through is when we feel light. And so what I've come to practice is if I'm in an emotion and I feel like there's something I'm doing wrong, or there's something I need to change, or there's some memo I need to get, or like there's some lesson here, I'm like, what's this lesson? Trying to figure it out. Mercury's trying to analyze like this feeling. Then now I know to wait until I feel light and expansive, and to look at the situation from there, or to just let it go and just say, if I am to have learned a lesson from this, please bring it to my awareness in a way that feels light. I open to receiving the lesson of this, and the lesson will always feel light. The lesson is never like there's something wrong with me, I have to change who I am, like I'll never, like the lesson's never going to feel heavy. The lesson's going to feel expansive. And so for me in this transiting experience, I felt even that the lesson in part was just this celebration that I could let the thoughts go. This celebration of recognizing that when I was younger and I felt like, oh, I want to be friends with these cool people and I feel rejected by them, and I would just like, get lost in that, that now I could see when these thoughts come up like, oh, like that's just a part of the expression of the emotion. Like, don't believe it, don't give it that power, and don't feed it, and just like it's releasing. Like to me, when it came up today, it felt like a purging. And so there's another concept I want to talk about is like when people talk about releasing emotions, or it's coming up to be purged, like what does that mean? To me, that means that when I'm feeling an emotion that's really intense sometimes, and it feels like familiar, it's like coming up in the present moment, and I can interpret it, and this is just a useful function of interpreting an emotion, as though it is coming up to be released. It like helps me let go of it. So I had the option of going into this kind of like trauma triggered state of mind where I'm like about ready to change who I am and my behavior, which like isn't possible, and like take on a bunch of conditioning that I don't want, because of these ideas telling me I need to change who I am, or like thinking that something's wrong with me. And when that all came up though, that whole like, oh, I need to change who I am, this is how I'm going to change it, this is what I can do better, I saw that whole thing going on as something that was like purging. So it comes to my awareness. It's like I'm kind of watching myself go through this. I'm watching myself being triggered. I'm holding myself while I'm being triggered, and I'm saying, okay, this is what's going on right now. I'm going to feel it. I know it's going to pass. I'm not going to believe these thoughts coming up right now, but I'm super fascinated by them because they're telling me things that I used to believe. They're telling me patterns that I used to practice, like ways of thinking and ways of changing who I am, or ways of perceiving other people that I used to practice. Like I used to like actually live out what I'm purging out right now. And it's because when we make conclusions from that heavy place, it's not really accurate. Or I'm deciding, like I'm orienting the infinite ways of orienting an experience, that it's in, like, to make a conclusion from a heavy emotion is inaccurate. It's more accurate when I feel expansive and happy and in love, to look from there and to believe those thoughts and to orient in that, and to validate whatever's coming up as the emotion, but to see that its expression is the thoughts that come out of it aren't solid instructions. So I think that's everything. That's the message for today. I hope it made sense.